welcome back to the channel. As always, I am Jonathan, your host here at QuickBird Gaming. Thank you for tuning in for another video. I really appreciate it. So, in this episode of QuickBird News, episode 20, can't believe I made it 20 episodes already. We're covering the gaming news from Sunday 9 March to Saturday 15 March. Since we got lots of stories to talk about, just like always, I better get into it. Okay, right out of the gate, I have to talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows. It lands, finally, this coming Thursday on the 20th of March is when it will be released on major storefronts. After several delays, it's here. Now, Shadows has to be the game for at least the first half of 2025 that has been the most mired in controversy leading up to its release. Just hit after hit that Ubisoft has taken. They've pushed it back several times. It has been kind of a mess. I would also say that Shadows is probably, for the first half of the year, the biggest AAA game that is dropping, upon which the success of the company depends. In other words, there's no other game out there that could sink or save its company as much as AC Shadows will for Ubisoft. Yeah, you know, this game, they have thrown everything at the wall trying to make this stick and hoping and praying it's going to perform well. And then the case in point is this article from Video Games Chronicle, which was published on Wednesday, March 12th. Ubisoft reverses Steam Deck support for Assassin's Creed Shadows. For one, the fact that Shadows is releasing on Steam day one is an anomaly. Ubisoft tends to put it on its own launcher, and then it comes to Steam much later. But they are going all out trying to get this game in as many hands as possible to start. For months, they had said it would not work on the deck, that the deck's hardware did not meet the minimal requirements for the game, and now they're saying it will from the day it launches. I've seen some discussion on this. Some people are cynical, saying they're just blowing smoke up our asses. Other people are saying that maybe they went through and trimmed some of the more odious requirements or turned down some of them in the game so that it can run on the Steam Deck. TBD. We'll see how that goes. I really think that, like I've said in previous videos, this is going to be it for Ubisoft. If this Shadows does not just perform to expectations, but overperform, I mean, if it doesn't go better than they expect, I don't think the company survives in its present form. I think they put too much money into this, and there just will not be enough left. And that seems to be, there seem to be people thinking the same thing. As I tune over to this article from VG247, this was published on Friday, March 14th. Is Assassin's Creed Shadows too little too late? Ubisoft is reportedly looking for big money backers to fund spin-offs for some of its biggest IP. Now, they say in the subheadline, a minority stake is up for grabs, and companies including Tencent might be at the table. They're looking for financial business backers in a new business entity which will make use of some of its biggest IPs like Assassin's Creed and others. And this comes from a Bloomberg report who supposedly had sources on the inside to discuss this. Now, I feel a couple of ways about this. The fact that they're looking for a minority stakeholder is significant. They're not selling off the company directly. They want to retain control of it. However, the more control, the more bigger percentage you put in somebody else's hands, the more pressure they're going to bring. Some people think this is a fairly cynical gambit. They're trying to move a bunch of the IPs kind of out from under Ubisoft into a hybrid or a separate company where they won't be tainted by Ubisoft's past actions. I am not sure you're going to see a lot of people at this juncture who are going to take a lot of other companies who are going to take a minority stake in Ubisoft. The sentiment being, if I wait another couple years, we can own the IPs outright because Ubisoft is going to collapse. And I guess we won't know until something develops. All this is strictly rumor at the moment. But the idea that they're trying to separate their profitable properties from Ubisoft is lended weight by this article from over in Eurogamer, which was published on the Wednesday, March 12th. Former Ubisoft execs stand trial in France accused of harassment. There were several people who worked in high-ranking positions in Ubisoft who left the company several years ago. I won't get into all the salacious details. You can come read the article if you want. But it was very inappropriate behavior towards women and a lot of things that were not kosher, especially in a country like France, which has a much less tolerance of it than I would say other parts of the world. So they're maybe trying to not associate their IPs, the Assassin's Creed franchise, with this type of behavior and saying, look, we moved, it's not associated with Ubisoft anymore. I think the takeaway from all of this, if you want a takeaway that you can boil down, is that change for Ubisoft is pretty much inevitable at this point. They will not stay the same company they were in 2024. I don't think it's possible. They are either going to voluntarily morph themselves into something else, or they are going to collapse and they're going to be bought out. I don't think there's any other options. The only Hail Mary might be that Assassin's Creed Shadows is a unbridled success that they weren't expecting. But, this is winning the lotto type odds that that's going to happen. So anyway, lots of interesting times happening for Ubisoft if you're an Assassin's Creed fan. And the controversy hasn't scared you off. Just a reminder, game is out this week. So we'll report on how it's doing next week. Tune in. Okay, so we talked about a game that must succeed for its company to survive. Here is a game that's already succeeding. This article from Game Rant, published on Thursday, 13 March. Split Fiction is already a massive hit, and it says it has sold 2 million copies in 1 week, exceeding expectations. And this, to me, is just a runaway success, and I love to see it. And for some of the reasons I outlined in last week's video, I love to see it because the head of the Hazelight Studios says that even though they're being published by Electronic Arts, there's no microtransactions, there's no DRM, there's no EA Online Pass required to play. Even more so, with the game's Friends Pass, players only need 1 copy for online co-op due to the Friends Pass system. Meaning one person can buy the game and the other person can download it, they can play together. And it is amazing to me that some game companies, some devs actually still do get it. They know what players want, they give it to them, and they're rewarded for it. Big studios certainly don't seem to know what players want, at least they don't act like it. And games journalists don't half the time either. I come down to the bottom of this article where the writer of this article says, okay, Split Fiction and Hazelight's previous 2 titles were published under the EA Originals label. However, Split Fiction director Joseph Ferris, sorry if I mispronounced that, has stated that Hazelight will never put microtransactions in its games. And here's the key. The rapid success of Split Fiction could be a sign that gamers' values are changing, especially considering how much more Split Fiction is compared to It Takes Two, which was Hazelight's previous release, just a week after its launch. I don't think gamers' values have changed. I think they've always been there. I think what we're getting to is that game companies have lost enough money chasing trends and values that weren't there, and they're being forced to come back to reality. And as the game companies go, so go the journalists as well. Now, this is a story that puts a smile on my wrinkled, battered face. And this is from Dual Shockers, and it was published on Wednesday, the 12th of March. And it says, Elder Scrolls Oblivion, rumored remake release date potentially leaked early. Now, I'm excited about this, me being the RPG fan I am, because we have not just one, but 2 potential Oblivion remakes in the works right now. This one, which is being referenced, is being done officially by Bethesda, and they're doing it in the Unreal 5 engine. So we'll have to see how that goes. If you scroll down the article here, a leaker, now I'm quoting the article, I don't know how valid this is. Today, Nate the Hate, who has been a reliable leaker with a good track record, was asked on X by a user whether he has any news regarding the Oblivion remake, to which he replied, either this month or next month. Release is likely to be sooner than the original June target, but still working to get details on updated release date. So, it may be possible we're going to be getting news of the Oblivion remake any day now, and into next month. At the same time, I go over to this article from Game Rant, which was published back on 1 January. Skyblivion devs detail what's left before the long-awaited mod will finally be ready. A separate group of people have modded Oblivion using Skyrim's creation engine, and they're bringing it up to the Skyrim gameplay style. And You go through the article and they talk about all the details they're doing. They're recreating the entire Oblivion game. So it's possible. Make it 2 versions of a remade Oblivion. And as an RPG fan, this actually is good news. This makes me really happy. I'm eager to see which one does better. If I have to put my money on something, I'm going to put it on the Sky Oblivion, guys. Just because Bethesda has dropped the ball on some things. I'm not sure the Unreal Engine is going to be as apt as the Create Engine is with the Skyrim type upgrades. But we'll see. I'd love to get them both. If they're both out, I'm going to play them both. Next up is this article from Engadget from Friday, March 14th. Silent Hill F trailer shows the game's beautiful backdrop and unsettling mood. Now, this is the next iteration in the Silent Hill series. It's going to be set in 1960s Japan, and it sounds like it's going to be extremely beautiful and terrifying. It is set in the fictional town of Ibusagakoa, based on the town of Kaneyama-Garo in Gifu, which is mostly made up of mountains and forest. In the game, you play as high school student Shimizu Hinako, who has to solve puzzles and confront monsters to survive after her hometown was consumed by a fog that transformed it into a grotesque copy of the real world. Okay, so it's pretty standard Silent Hill type of fare. However, the fact that they've got a new entry in the franchise, the last game was the remake of Silent Hill 2, if I'm not mistaken. So this is going to be cool. If you're a survival horror fan, go check this out. I will link the trailer down below. I have not watched it yet. I'll probably go film a trailer for it tomorrow morning, and a trailer reaction, I should say, for it tomorrow morning. But I'll link it below if you want to check it out. So we had some good news there. Now we got to talk about something that's not so good news. And this article from VG247 that was published on Wednesday, March 12th. Rise of the Ronin is off to a rough start on PC as it becomes Team Ninja's worst performing major Steam launch in years. Now, Team Ninja is the development team behind Neo and Ninja Gaiden. Rise of the Ronin was once a PS5 exclusive game. They've transitioned it over. It came out for PC on the Steam store this week. And things are not going so well. Look at the Steam page. It shows that 48% of the reviews are mixed. And it's the culprit you think it's going to be. It is the optimization. You scroll down to the reviews. Great game. Extremely poor optimization. I'm getting a solid FPS, but my GPU is insanely hot. Should never happen. The optimization is downright terrible, they say. A good core game with very bad optimization. The game itself is fun to play, but yeah, I've been having an issue with it saying something about visuals not being able to load because there isn't any space. Amazing game, amazing concept. Horrible performance. Made my system crash. And so on and so on. Another game, another port that has not gone well over to PC. If you look at the actual Steam DB charts, excuse me, peaked at about 12,000 players. No noticeable rise going into the weekend. Not a good sign. Like I said, at 48%, this one may be tanked. If they can't solve this, it may take them a long time to recover it. I'm a PC player. I don't even own a PlayStation or a Nintendo Switch, so this is kind of my bread and butter. And yeah, it sucks getting the short end of the stick on these ports that come over, and half the time they just don't work very well. It's just a sad reality that PC players have to deal with. And all I can say to my fellow PC players is, this will never stop as long as we keep supporting it. Vote with your wallets. When these games come out and they're poorly optimized, don't buy them. And if they're bad enough and it's repeated, don't buy from the company anymore. That is our only power, so exercise it. And we have some good news, bad news on the Star Wars gaming front. First up is this article from GameSpot, published on Friday, March 14th. Star Wars Hunters will be shut down just over a year after launch. And it says, last year, Zynga debuted Star Wars Hunters, a free-to-play 4v4 shooter that introduced new characters, placed them in death matches in familiar locations across the Star Wars universe. Less than a year after its launch, has announced it will shut down this fall. Will receive its final update on April 15th. Will remain playable until October 1st, and it'll be gone. So, a Star Wars game going by the wayside. At the same time, we have this article over on Game Rant, also from Friday. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake is still in development. Now, the KOTOR remake has had a pretty pretty chaotic past when it was first announced back in 2021. Saber Interactive, who I believe did Space Marines 2, is working on this game now. It was announced, when it was announced, Spire Media had taken the reins. However, it ran into several roadblocks, according to this article, starting with Aspire reportedly firing the project's art director and design director after the demo failed to meet expectations of Sony and Lucasfilm in 2022. This resulted in KOTOR remake being rebooted from the ground up. Aspire was taken off the project. Saber Interactive would set in as a replacement developer, only for the parent company Embracer Group to sell the studio along with subsidiaries last year. So this has just been a roller coaster ride. However, the the chief creative officer at Saber has said everything is proceeding as planned and that they're still working on all of their projects, including the Knights of the Old Republic remake. So like I said, it's a good news, bad news week for Star Wars gaming. Next is this article from Eurogamer that was published on Friday the 14th of March. Final Fantasy series has now sold over 200 million copies worldwide. Square Enix shared the announcement on social media, along with the news that the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster series has sold over 5 million copies. Final Fantasy is on par with the likes of Assassin's Creed and The Sims, having sold more than Sonic the Hedgehog and Legend of Zelda. However, it remains far behind the Mario franchise, Tetris, Call of Duty, Pokemon, GTA, Minecraft, and FIFA. Well, of course. And it breaks down the number of copies sold per franchise, most of which pale in comparison to Final Fantasy XIV at 24 million sales. The MMORPG was the most profitable game in the series, and the financial reports have often kept the company afloat where other games have failed to meet expectations. So in other words, Final Fantasy is still an ongoing concern with 14 keeping it afloat. I thought the reception for 16 was pretty good. I haven't played it yet. I actually have Final Fantasy IX as my Final Fantasy play scheduled for this year. Like I said, I haven't played 16 yet, but I thought people received it better than 15. There's been a lot of speculation for 17. I don't think Square Enix has officially announced it yet, but I'm sure it'll be coming over the horizon. So if you like RPGs, this overall is a great series. You should check it out. For the modern gamer, I would recommend 10 and 12 as being particularly good. And that's pretty much all I can say about that. I'll finish up with this article from Video Games Chronicle from Tuesday, 11 March. Ori developer Moon Studios goes fully independent, will finish No Rest for the Wicked without Take-Two. Take-Two had retained the rights to No Rest for the Wicked after selling off its private division label. Moon Studios now says it's a fully independent company after securing the publishing rights to its game, No Rest for the Wicked, from Take-Two. And essentially, I always see this as a good news scenario when smaller, more independent developers can execute the game the way they want to. And that's what they said here in a new announcement. However, Moon Studios said it was fully independent. Quote, "We have secured the publishing rights for No Rest of the Wicked, allowing us to execute our vision without restrictions." So good on them. I hope that goes very well. I would say that the Ori franchise has been pretty well liked by gamers. This article over on instantgaming.com, also published on Tuesday the 11th. The Ori franchise has sold over 15 million games, as revealed by Thomas Mahler, the CEO of Moon Studios. So they're on the right track, and I'm interested to see how they're going to chart No Rest for the Wicked. I think in early access it's been a little bumpy, but with hope, now that their big brother is out of the way, they can proceed and get things under control. All right, that's enough out of me today. I thank you for joining me for this episode of Quick Bird News. If you enjoy this content, please consider leaving a like on the video, subscribing to the channel. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you liked, didn't like. I appreciate all the engagement. All that helps me out, and the feedback helps me get better. I will be back here next week. I guarantee you to be talking about Assassin's Creed. This is a do or die for Ubisoft, so we're finally here. We're going to see what happens. And I'm sure that's going to be my lead story as to how well that game is doing. I'm also going to go watch that Silent Hill trailer, Silent Hill F, and film my reaction for that, so you can look for that as well. If you want to see somebody who's not a big fan of survival horror getting creeped out, that'll be posted in the next day or two. In the meantime, thank you again for joining me. You all go out there, live your best lives, and y'all stay gaming.